This is Bob Fitrakis, and we're bringing you Bob Bites Back. No, I'm not gumming people. I'm biting. Lee Camp.
How you doing?
Good. And I'm surprised you're not bound and shackled.
Yeah.
Because the new McCarthyism is running rapid in America. What's your take on it?
I know. I wasn't here for the first go around, so I'm excited I get to see it anew. You know, I was worried I'd missed it, but
it's like Mr. Science, new history.
It is atrocious. And what's funny is the people that a lot of people are pushing it don't realize it will then come back to bite them if they want to stand for election reform, if they want to fight a pipeline, if they want to protest for free speech. There's so many things that any protester stands up. They're now using it against pipeline protesters. Anybody stands up and says, "Hey, we're not getting our rights. We don't want these pipelines. Whatever it is, we want a legitimate election system." Everybody goes, "You're working with the Russians. The Russians bots said things, and so it's being used back on these people that are right now perpetrating it. But it'll come back to haunt so many activists and left people.
That's interesting. I've got the name of 118 pipeline protesters in my pocket.
Oh my God!
Don't make me reveal it. It's right here in my phone. Okay.
Exactly.
And they're all working for the Russians.
Exactly.
You know, it's people like you, though. It's like, oh, just because we put U.S. troops all over the Russian borders, the Russians have a reason to be paranoid. It's not like the West has ever attacked them.
Yeah, right. No, but it's getting to a ridiculous level. But I do think that because there are so many different areas to get your information now, I think it's not as easy to push that talking point as it used to be. You know, mainstream media right now is, frothing at the mouth with Russia, but I think most of America is probably seeing through it nowadays.
And one of my favorites, Redacted Tonight with Lee Camp. Why? Because, hey, the mainstream media is doing the redacting. Really, you're the unredactor.
I know. I did have that qualm with the name of the show. I was like, do we call it Unredacted Tonight because we're revealing what's been redacted? But Redacted Tonight had a better ring to it, so here I am.
But you're gathering this news. Much of it, which doesn't get out or doesn't hit the mainstream, is like, connection between Saudi Arabia and ISIS. Or one of my favorite, that LA Times headline, CIA guerrillas clash with Pentagon militia.
Oh, that was one of my favorites. We're funding both sides of rebels fighting each other in Syria. CIA armed and funded rebels fighting Pentagon armed and funded rebels. And it's amazing how this stuff repeats itself. You know more than I do. How many years you've been doing this, that these stories repeat themselves. And I used to have a stand-up joke 10 years ago about being in Afghanistan, and I'd go, we pay the Taliban to let our trucks through. We literally were bribing the Taliban so that we could fight the Taliban. So we were, and the end of the joke is, no wonder a scrappy group of guys wearing torn clothes and flip-flops can compete with the most powerful military in the world. They have us on their side. That's how they're doing it.
And again, the Taliban had practically eradicated the opium crisis in the country. And then it's like, well, we created a new government. Okay, the guy from Chevron, Karzai, his brother, the child molester, and they call them warlords, but they left off the term opium warlords, which what they were in the Golden Crescent.
Yeah.
So we got the drug dealers, the child molesters, and the oil guy, and the other side ended up not being very good either. But we destroyed the whole country in order to save it, which repeats itself.
Which is kind of the goal. I mean, I think the goal is to keep so many countries, especially in the Middle East, unstable, unable to compete with us, to compete with our military empire, to compete with Israel. And it's so sad because unstable, the number of lives lost in keeping countries just collapsing and catastrophe around it's so sick.
Well, yeah, and John Stockwell, in Search of Enemies, famous book, the highest ranking CIA official to ever go public, said, look, the whole purpose is to keep the world in turmoil so we can have this massive military industrial complex. Then guys like you got to come around and pick it apart.
Yeah. You and I talked about it on your radio show, this article I wrote, and I'm not the first one to say this, as you well know, but it's gone kind of viral, about how every nation we've invaded, at least in the past 15, 20 years has dropped the US dollar or switched away from the US dollar within a few years of when we suddenly decide, you know what, we really got to get in there. Iraq, it was like 18 months before we invaded, and Libya was switching to the gold dinar, and you said you were there and heard Gaddafi say that. So really it is to make sure these countries don't compete with both our military might and our financial might.
Yeah, because Gaddafi had this crazy idea before we waged illegal war against him, is that the people of Africa ought to own the wealth of Africa, as opposed to giant Western corporations.
That's very anti-American, Bob.
Well, you've told me you yourself are prejudiced against unnatural-born legal fictions known as corporations. You don't believe they should have?
I am racist against corporations, it's true. I don't want to reveal it, but...
Even transnationals.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of they are people, and you got to understand, Bob. These are people. They have feelings. They have. If you prick them, do they not bleed?
No.
Like these corporations are definitely human beings.
When there's no more room in hell, these unnatural corporations shall roam the earth. I steal that, paraphrase George C. Romero.
Yeah, but so at the end of the day, I think we should not, obviously corporations shouldn't have personhood, but we shouldn't allow them to get this big, and we should have the ability to revoke a corporation's charter if it's hurting our community, if it's hurting our city or state. They shouldn't be able to operate here.
All right, well, we were having a lot of good fun here, but where can they read more about you, the article as well, and where can they find you online?
The article's in Truth Dig, but my TV show is Redacted tonight. It's on RT America. It's on a lot of people's televisions, but it's also all on YouTube. And if they can't remember that, just Lee Camp on leecamp.com.
All right, thanks a lot, Lee. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bob.
Cool.